Hey guys, welcome to another top table wargaming tutorial video. This video is a bit of a first really. I normally try my techniques out, get them to work how I want them to work, and then show you guys how I've done it. In this one I have a lot of work to do in getting the tables ready for the Scouring of Cheshire, and I'm trying different techniques to just try and speed it up a little bit, but you know, not lessen the quality of what the scenery pieces are going to look like. I started posting bits and bobs up on this one on the Facebook group, and I've had a few people comment on the pictures, asking different questions, PMing me asking how I did certain things. And the technique that I'm trying, I've not tried before. This was a bit of a test piece really, and it's turned out not too bad. And a few people have asked how I've done it. So rather than try and explain in a post, which is always harder to do when you're typing it out, rather than being able to physically show someone what you're doing, I thought I'll do a quick video. This is what you kind of end up with. It's not finished painting, so ignore the painting. This was just to see how the washes would react with this technique for getting the textures, etc. So this is what I'm going to end up with, and I will show this when it's completely finished. There's quite a bit more to do on this, but just to get the finish and use that technique, I thought I'd just quickly do this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just an L-shaped ruined corner using 5mm foam core, which as you know if you use this stuff is like a paper on the outside with a high density foam centre. So what I've done, just got my rough shape. I've marked a line which is perfectly 90 degrees from the bottom line up. This is where I'm going to cut up and split into two, and I'm going to do this like so, dead easy. The reason that I do it in one piece rather than cut two separates is so that when I put it together it's the same size at the top. So you cut that nice and straight like so, and then these are going to go together like that, and that's what I mean about them being the same height. When you don't have to do it that way, you can cut them individually if you want. You might be using offcuts of card, but that's going to be the corner piece, and then I'm going to texturise it and show you how I've done that. So what I'll do is I'll go away, stick this together, tidy it up a little bit, and then we'll go into the design. So I'll see you in a second. Okay guys, just one more thing before I continue onto the texture stage. I've cut my two pieces, as you've seen. An easy way when you're doing 90-degree corners to get a nice finish, so you don't have, so you don't have like edges of foam which you then have to fill, is to, if you cut one return this way. So what you do is you measure your 5mm in, which is the distance of your card, like so. Mark it off. Cut through the first layer of paper and score through the foam, and then get your blade and run down the edge of the inside of the other side, the paper side, and take that chunk out. What you can then do is you get a nice finish, you see, so there's no edge, and it's also a nice, you can run a nice line of glue up there and pop it on like so. Yeah, and you just get a neater finish. You don't have to do that, it's just something I've started to do as rule of thumb. Just makes life a little bit easier at later stages. Another thing that I always do when I'm doing ruined walls using this material is I taper off the edges. Now this you don't have to be neat. The rougher it looks, the more realistic it looks, because it is a broken wall. So I do that on both sides. On there, it ends up looking good when it comes to finishing it off. But the main reason that I do it is because this is two materials, it's not one material. You've got paper and you've got the foam. The two materials can react differently to different things, so they can react differently to the paint, they could react differently to glues, etc. And what sometimes tends to happen, the paper, if you just have a straight edge, and you're using anything that's like solvent based, it can kind of eat away at the foam, so the foam sinks inward and you end up with the two outer edges protruding and then a dip in the middle, if that makes sense. And then because it's paper, when you're painting it, etc., and it gets wet, it ends up becoming like a fluffy edge, and it rips and it tears, and it just doesn't look great, let's put it that way. So I tend to do that so that even if I do get a bit of deterioration on the foam and it sinks down slightly, it's still protruding higher enough past the paper that it won't drop lower than the paper level. So again, you know, that's personal preference. It's something that I do because I do try a lot of different products out. If you found a product that doesn't deteriorate the foam and you're going to use that religiously, then you know you don't have to do that. But it also gives a nice effect when it comes to painting. It looks like the masonry's been broken away, etc. So it's a twofold reason that I use it. So that's my 2 returns. I'm going to glue these together. They'll probably take an hour or so to glue to set with a PVA, so then we'll come back after that. Okay guys, so once you've followed the steps previously and you've stuck your 2 pieces of foam core together, you're then going to mark out any designs, especially this is where your brickwork effect is going to come into it. So decide what brickwork you can go for, mark out with a pen or a pencil on the foam card, any doorways, archways, openings and things like that. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to cut out the inner part of this archway, but the rest, where the stonework is, what we'll do, we're just going to score. So we'll get our knife in and score along the lines like so, probably about 1 millimetre deep, just so you're just cutting into the foam underneath the card. Yeah, like so. Again, pop it in and score. Now, depending how you want this ruin to look and the brickwork to look, you can either use a straight edge to do this. I always find with stonework, taking that little bit of extra care and doing it by hand and not rushing it, gets you just the slightly ununiform look of what block would end up looking like, because you know this, not every block in this time frame is going to be to the sort of 1/8 of an inch accurate, so the odd little bit of discrepancy in the joints, etc., just I think adds to the feel of it. So I'm going to do that the whole piece. I'm going to cut the doorway out as I said, and then we'll come back in a second. Right guys, so I've been away and I've scored all the lines for the brickwork, cut out the arch. As you can see on this occasion, I've left a part here on the arch which needs to be removed at the end. It's there on purpose because if you see, I've left it a very small attachment there, and if I cut that out now whilst I'm working with it, that will end up breaking, which isn't a problem because you can always repair it when you're putting it on the base, but just for ease of showing you on the camera what I'm going to be doing next, etc., I've left a chunk in there, so when I've done everything else I'll remove that chunk out. So what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to take this tool. Now you can use a tool like this, or you could use a biro, a pencil, anything with like a rounded, not too thin but not too thick tip, depending how wide you want your joints in your brickwork. And all we're going to do is we're going to work along all the cuts that we've previously done and just open them cuts up ever so slightly. Yeah, the reason I use this tool, I kind of stumbled across it, it leaves like a nice bevel on the edge of the block, which I like. So we'll do that on all the cuts, dead simple, keep going till every single joint is opened up, and what I'll do is I'll come back when I've done that and I'll show you the next stage. Okay, so I've done all the gone over all the courses on the brickwork and separated the joints, as you can see. Moved on to the decorative side, which is putting in extra little bits of decor using different materials. Now you don't have to do this. This is something that is basically all to do with your preference. I've done it on this one because this is to tie in with another piece, and what I've used is I've cut strips of cork sheet, put them up either side of the door, a decorative column running across the top with a joint cobblestone on the cruciform there, and then I've just cut with my scalpel blade the joints in to simulate that it's separate blocks to build those stanchions. So I'm now going to go away, I'm going to undercoat this, and then we'll come back once it's been undercoated, and we will be at the wash stage, and I'll show you how I'm going to wash it, and then we'll move on from there. So I'll come back once I've undercoated it. Okay guys, so we're starting to put the shade effect on. As you can see, I've made a start on this side. We're using the wash which I made in another video. If you look back through the videos, if you want to make your own wash, but you can use whichever shade you want. You can use Agrax Earth shade or Nuln Oil or any of the Army Painter shades. Any that you normally use is fine to use. And what you want to do is you want to get a nice liberal coat. Don't be shy with it, which is why it's handy to use your homemade cheaper option, because what you want it to do is you want all the wash to run into the joints in the brickwork. Don't worry about how it looks at this stage. Yeah, just get it all on like so, and you do that all over your ruin. Paying close attention to if you've put decorative stones on like this, that you get in where it joins onto your actual brickwork. So you want all that on like so. Make sure it's in all the joints. And then you can see on this, as it's drying, I'm getting areas where the wash separates, which is just basically to do with the surface area, whatever you used as a base. I'm not going to do the inside because I'm going to do the inside to match the external, but for the purposes of this video I'm just showing you on the external side. So that's us getting the wash on. What I'm going to do is, there's a slim chance you may need to put a couple of washes on it, so we're going to come back once that's dry and have a look, and then we'll see where we're at. But if not, we'll get straight on to highlighting up. So I'll see you in a second, guys. Okay guys, what we're now going to do, now all the ink has dried, is we're going to do a dry brush. We're just going to use straight white for this. If I was doing like a singular piece for like a display piece or something like that, I'd probably phase the lighter colours up, ending in white, probably starting with a pale sand colour, something along them lines. But just for the purpose of this video, just to show you what we're going to end up with, I'm going straight for the white, and I'll do a couple of coats. For being on the battlefield, on your gaming table, it's still perfectly fine to just to go straight in with the white. And like I say, we're going to do a dry brush, so we want like a nice flat edged brush, fairly wide. I find these brushes are very good for the price that I get them for. I get these from a shop called The Range in Manchester. I think they're nationwide, and they have a hobby section, and you can get lots of different things from there which are suitable for terrain making and stuff, so it's worth having a look. As you can see, I've started on this side, and all we're going to do is just going to do a very light dry brush. Try to pick all the details up. Don't worry if you start doing it, and because the white is going to be such a contrast, if it seems like you're going too heavy, don't worry about that at this stage. We're going to iron out all the little creases here, there and everywhere as the coats go on. So I'm just showing you now, if you're unsure about dry brushing, you get a small amount of paint on your brush, use a paper towel, wipe off as much of it as you can, so you're just left with a residue on the brush, and you're just gently picking out the raised areas. As you can see, I'm focusing on the most raised areas at the moment, like so. And then what I'll start to do, once I'm happy with that, is blend in the actual blocks, if you like. Yeah, so I'm going to go away and do a couple of coats of the dry brush away from camera, because it could be fairly boring you watching me do this all over for 10-15 minutes, and then yeah, we'll come back and I'll show you the next stage, which we're closing in on the end of the project now, so we're almost there. So I'll see you in a second, guys. And here we go, guys. This is what you can end up with. This is perfect for your gaming tables. If it was going to be a display piece, like I said, we'd go a bit further into detail, start adding more shading and possibly moss in and around the joins in the bricks and around the bottom. but for the purposes of just getting something on your battlefield and getting some terrain pieces, it's very quick, it's very easy, and I think I ended up doing, I think it was 3 coats of dry brushing. Again, if I wanted to get a more defined, more realistic look on this ruin, what I'd now go back and do is put a darker wash in and around all the sort of recesses, so at the sides of the pillars and in the joints, etc. I've done that to a certain extent, but not to the point where, like I say, it's going to be on display. It's going to be on the gaming board. It's going to look really cool. It's going to match in with the other ruins that I've got, and this piece is actually going onto a bigger piece, which I'll show you in due course. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. This is another, it's kind of a bit of a cheat really in comparison to the other tutorials that I've shown you with the blue foam, and you get quite a nice finish on it. I'm quite happy with how it's come out. I'm going to go away now and do the internal side because that's still undone, and I will probably add in a few little bits, maybe a platform on the inside or something like that, and a stair going up. But that should just give you the idea of getting it done. Hope you guys are able to give it a go. By all means, show me on the Facebook page or on the GBHL channel and tag me into your pictures, and let me know what you end up with. It would be really interesting to see. Alright then guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.